Okay, so what makes open houses actually work? Open houses are a great way for you to meet new people. In terms of ways to reach out to people cold, door knocking and cold calling is something that a lot of people don't like to do. But when they get in the business, they're pretty comfortable doing open houses. It feels like a bit of a retail environment. But unless you really think through some strategy as to how to do them right, it's really difficult to actually convert off of these. So I'm going to talk about how we actually convert off of open houses today. And I've got some very simple ways that I think you can think about how to get more people through and get more people to actually leave you contact information so that you can actually follow up with them and potentially turn them into buying or selling customers. And that really is the goal. Just to be clear, what we're talking about here is taking someone from someone you've never met to turn them into someone that you have met and then ultimately have a way to follow up with them. If you don't have a way to follow up with them, if you're just handing them a business card or a listing card on the way out the door, that's not going to be something that's going to be a really successful strategy. What we need is we need a way to be able to follow up with them. And I like to have a way that I can do so authentically rather than have them sign into a sign-in sheet that they may or may not ever want to hear from us again. So there's a simple acronym that I think you can remember that's going to help you to have better success at your open house. And that open house acronym is just PACK, P-A-C-K. And really the four ways in which I think, or the four things that you need to think about are symbolized by that acronym. So the P is you got to pick the right one. So if you're doing your own open houses for your own listings, that's cool. And sometimes you got to do that. Your clients are going to expect that. And you might have open houses or listings, I should say, that are going to be great open houses. And it's good if you're doing those ones. But if, let's say you work at a brokerage where you trade open house opportunities with each other, picking the right one can make all the difference in terms of your success to convert people. So what do you need to think about to pick the right one? Well, I think that there's really four basic things that go into picking the right open house. The first and probably most important one is its newness. So how new to the market is it? If it's a property that's been on the market for months and months and months, it's had lots of open houses done, I think that you're probably going to have less traffic on average than if you have a property that's just come to the market in the last week or so. So finding a house that's new, and secondly, that hasn't had a lot of open houses before, is one of the most important things in terms of picking the right one. For me, there were two other characteristics as well about the open house that I wanted. I wanted to be able to find one that was very close to like a main artery or a busy part of town. So it wasn't one that had to have 6 or 7 signs directing you back into the neighborhood. Those are beautiful homes, and often the executive homes in neighborhoods are way back into the subdivision. But what I think is most important for your open house traffic is to get one off of a main street. So if you've got a main street or something coming out of the mall or something coming out of a shopping center, a busy community center or something like that, where you can set up signs that quickly get people to your open house, that to me is a great open house as well. And then the fourth thing is the visual appeal of the house when they get there. And really we're talking about the external appeal of the house. I've had lots of open houses where I was standing in the front window waiting for people to come in, watching cars kind of slow down and then speed right back up again because they didn't like the look of the house. You can't always get this one, and tastes are different for everybody, but for the most part, if the house is visually appealing, you're going to have a better chance. So what did I do to find those? Every Monday morning, my first job of the week was I would get on our MLS system. I'd look up all of the listings that our brokerage had put on that week. And I would start calling those agents in our office to just offer my services to go hold that house open for them whenever they were interested in that. And I started with the most likely to have lots of traffic through, and I worked my way down until I found one. That to me was a big part of the activity of having a great open house, was connecting with the other people in the office to be able to host that open house for them. So picking the right open house, that's the P in PACK, and I think that's the first thing. The second thing that's important is once you've picked a great open house, you've got to get the word out there. And I think too many of us are just guilty of basically putting it on the MLS system, putting that little flag on Realtor.ca to say, yes, this is an open house this weekend, and kind of waiting for people to find it at that point. But I think that's such a wasted opportunity to reach out to people that otherwise A, might be interested in the house, and B, we're trying to connect with anyway. So first and foremost, when you have an open house, I think you should send it out to your database. If you've got your database organized in a way that it's easy to send out, just send the details out. And even though 99% of them might not be interested in that house, the way you're positioning it is to say, I'm doing an open house at 123 Main Street this week. If you know anyone who kind of likes that area or might be interested in coming by to look at this one, please just pass this along or send them my name, or better yet, send me their name and I'll send them the details on the open house. It's a great way to position it in front of your database. And even if no one from your database shows up, it's been another way in which you've reached out to them to show them that you're actively working in the market. A big thing for me as well is I did a before and after invitation to the neighborhood that the open house was in. So this was a part of my advertising again. I took the 50 houses that sort of surrounded the open house, and I'd love to tell you that I went and knocked on the door every time of those 50 people and invited them personally to the open house. But sometimes I did that. More often than not, I had put together a little invitation, a simple flyer that said, I'm doing an open house this Sunday from 2 to 4, and you can come check it out early if you want. I'll open it up for just the neighbors from 1 to 2, so you can come do a bit of a preview of the house without necessarily bumping into other people who are kind of there as buyers. It was kind of like I trying to create a little exclusivity around it. You know, it's not that exclusive, I get it, but it's a little bit extra, and it shows the neighbors that A, I'm a hardworking agent, and B, that I'm interested in engaging them and helping them, you know, decide who comes into their neighborhood. What they're really coming through for is that they want to see that neighbor's house and they want to get an idea of what the value of their own home is for the most part compared to this one. You know, they're going to walk through, they're going to know the price of this one, and they're going to be able to compare it in their minds to what their house looks like. For me, that introductory or that invitation type newsletter or the flyer that I took around to them was only half of the story though. After the open house, I followed up with the neighborhood as well to say what my results were at the open house. And in fact, my very, very first listing that I ever had came off of this flyer. So I took a second flyer around and basically it said, I did an open house this past Sunday. I had 7 couples through. 3 of them left me some contact information because they were kind of interested in this neighborhood, but just didn't like that house. So if you're thinking of putting your house on the market, then reach out. Maybe these 3 would be interested in your property. And I had a guy who called me off of that specific flyer. He had it on the table when I arrived to do the listing presentation for him, and he said, maybe these 3 people are interested in my place. And I called them all, and in that case they weren't, but it was a great entree into the conversation with this potential seller. We listed that property and we had it sold right away. So it was a great way. And I followed up after every open house with that flyer. It did a tremendous amount of lift for me in those neighborhoods. There's other ways you can advertise it too. Today, you know, flyers might be not your way to go, or door knocking in the neighborhood might not be your way to go, but obviously you want to put this out on your social media. Social media is such a powerful tool for us now, and it's a great way to reach out to our warm network that maybe we don't know as well as the people in our database, but they might also have someone who's interested in the house. It also shows people online evidence of our success, and that's an important thing as you try to build credibility around your career. So putting it out on your social media, I think it's probably 3 times at least leading up to the open house. You want to be talking about it. Maybe you do a little bit of a sneak peek at the property. You know, you're doing something at the property outside of it. You could be talking about some of the benefits of the property or the neighborhood. You know, genuinely talking about what the invitation looks like, that you might be having some sort of contest, or you might be giving away some food or something like that at the open house. Like, make it an event and put it on social. So I think that's really important. And then last, of course, you could always do some paid advertising around this as well. I don't think a lot of agents think about this, but you know, doing a small little spend on you know, Meta and putting it out through Facebook and Instagram ads, I mean, you might drive some traffic in that you otherwise weren't. Those are just a few ideas. There's obviously so many ways in which you could advertise an open house, but really promoting it and putting your all into it is, I think, the message that I'm trying to get across with the A part of our acronym. You're going to be there on a Sunday afternoon anyway. You might as well drive as many people there to visit you as you can. Once you get people there, the third part of the acronym of PAC is C for convert. So you've got to convert people from strangers into people that you have the ability to follow up with. And I think you're going to have to come up with whatever's authentic for you. Some people find it very authentic to have the sign-in sheet. They can usually get people to sign in because of the script that they've developed around that or dialogue they've put together for that. Some people really like doing a contest of some sort. So you're entering a contest when you come into the open house, and the way that you enter that contest is leaving contact information. For me, I did both of those things, and I had some success with them, but where I really had success was developing a dialogue that allowed me to follow up in a very authentic way with people. And it really was an early filter for those who maybe wanted to work with me and those who didn't. I call it a make it easier to say yes script or dialogue. And so I let people walk around the house, see what they were, get kind of their own feel for the house before I started to chat with them a little bit further. And what I said to them when they came down to talk to me down the stairs into the kitchen would be, so listen, is this the house for you? Should I go get the offer ready? And of course, everyone chuckles at that, right? And you're kind of breaking the ice, ha ha ha. And fantastic. I know that 99.9% of the time, the answer is going to be no to that question. But I'm trying to create a sequence of easier to say yes questions. So my next question was kind of preceded by a little bit of me demonstrating my knowledge to them or demonstrating my value. So right after they said no to that, I said, well, listen, you're obviously interested in this neighborhood. You're here walking through this open house. There's 3 other properties that I know. There's 99 Gretzky Street over here. It's a bit bigger, it's a little more pricey, but the backyard there is spectacular. I've been through that house, maybe the kitchen needs a little bit of an update, but it's a beautiful house. And if you can stretch the price a little bit, that's great. And then I've got 800 Central Avenue over here. That one is probably a little bit smaller, a little bit more budget friendly. The rec room down in the basement's great for kids. The property's cold. You need to be able to demonstrate in that sort of brief 1-minute window that you're the guy who knows this neighborhood and can help them with their search. And so I knew 3 cold, and I always told them all 3 of the ones that I thought they should go look at. And I ended that by saying, I'm happy to set up a time for us to go take a look. Like, do you want to go take a look at any of those? Because I really think that if you like this house, you're going to like those. Again, most of the time, the answer is no to that. I haven't really built a rapport with these folks. I don't know their name. I've introduced myself when they came in, so they know me, but they don't really know me either. So, to suggest that, yeah, I want you to set up an appointment to go look at them, maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 people would say yes to that. But really what I was driving at was my 3rd comment or my 3rd question for them, which was, listen, it's really easy for me to just set you up on the tool that we have in our MLS system, or you have in your CRM, or your brokerage has that makes this available. It's just really easy for me to set you up. All I need is an email address, and what it'll do is it'll spit out properties that, as soon as they come on the market, just end up in your inbox. So you don't have to do the work of going to search anywhere. And you can get this through so many different services now, but the offer to do that was something that I wanted to make. Where it really kind of ramped up for me was that I also mentioned one other thing. I said, and listen, I go to a sales meeting with our brokerage every Tuesday morning. And at that sales meeting, there's people talking about stuff that's coming up in the next few weeks. So on Tuesday afternoons, I go and I send emails to the folks that I think it's relevant to them, what properties are going to be on the market in the next little while. And I've done lots of deals with people with properties that have never hit the market. The idea of giving something that they couldn't otherwise get is very important. It's super exclusive to people. It feels like they get the sort of inside track to real estate that's out there. And that's where I started to get a lot of email addresses that I could put into my database. And after that, once they gave me the email address, as I'm writing the email address down, and I used literally a physical book to write it down, as I was writing it, I would say, listen, I'm going to grab your number too, just in case I copy down your email address wrong or something like that. I can always just send you a quick text. Now I've got the person in my database, and I'm ready to follow up with them. And so that's the 4th step. To really maximize the value of your open houses, the 4th step is K, keep following up. People ask me a lot, how long should I wait before I follow up with people? And my answer is, it's a race in my mind. They're going to leave my open house and they're going to go down the street to the next open house and they're going to have another conversation with another agent. And I believe that what I want to show is that I'm the most on top of it. So I'm not waiting till the next day to follow up with people. I'm trying not to even wait till that night. If there's a slow moment in my open house, I'm sending that follow-up email with some of the details around those 3 other properties, or letting them know that I've set them up on the prospector tool. I go back and reference some of the properties that were mentioned in our Tuesday sales meeting from the past week. You are going to have your own follow-up email to open houses, and I think it's really important for you to think that through, but it is a race in my mind. And I kept following up with people until basically they told me to go away. I believed that once they had given me their email address, that was the expectation of me, was that I was going to do the work until they told me they didn't want me to anymore. I had volunteered my services at that point to be their agent and to help them in their house search. And so, sending them 2 emails without a response was not something that caused me to say, oh, they don't want me to work anymore for them. I kept going until they essentially told me to stop. And if you have that mentality that, yes, I am now working for these people because they've given me the permission to go do this task, I think you're just going to convert at a high level. So open houses can be such a great source for people, particularly who don't have a huge database, to grow their database, and that is the point. These people might not be ready to buy right off the bat, and I think that's important as well to note. Your goal is to get people from the position of not having ever met them into your database. They should be people that you have a relationship with now and can follow up with. So, it's a great way. Think of that acronym, PACK. Pick the right one, advertise the heck out of it, convert while you're there, and keep following up after. And I think you're going to have just way more success with your open houses. Good luck with it out there. Hope you have some success with that.